Welcome to After the Poll, the video series to see if my comic books lived up to the hype, and I'm going to give you my top 5. Guys, I'm Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. Let's get started. We have 18 books to talk about. We're going to kick off this bad boy with the Dark Web Amazing Spider-Man issue 17. Yeah, we're going to knock out these Dark Web books real quick, because if you want to see an in-depth review of these titles, check out my series Spider-Man Weekly. When it comes to the Amazing Spider-Man Dark Web, this event is probably one of the worst Spider-Man events that I have actually read in quite some time. Now, I feel like I have a hunch that this event is probably mandated by Marvel, that Zeb Wells had to come up with an event, and he put this bad boy together before he had to tell his main story. And it kind of shows that in this comic book, because it's like Spider-Man's dealing with these lesser demons. And he's like, man, I gotta fight you again and stuff like that. It's just kind of weird. It is not my favorite event. But you do get introduced to a new Spider character, and the character's name is called Rex Rapp. That's right, he is the Spider-Man of Limbo. Like we needed another Spider-Man, right? So yes, the Dark Web continues to disappoint. Not my favorite book whatsoever. But of course, I'm a Spider-Man fan, so we're going to continue to read this bad boy, right? All right. So the next book we're talking about now is, yes, Ms. Marvel issue 2, the Dark Web tie-in. This book has no reason to exist on the planet. That's right, guys. Ms. Marvel goes to Limbo after Ben Reilly uses his magic, and you wind up seeing Ms. Marvel kind of threatening the demons of Limbo. They send her back, and now they have to deal with the demons in New York. It's a horribly written book. We wind up seeing her mosque winds up getting possessed by a demon with all of her friends inside of it, and Miles Morales shows up in this book for no apparent reason whatsoever. This is an utter waste of time. I would not waste your money on this. You could read the Dark Web event, not read this book, and you'll be golden. And finally, when it comes to the Dark Web, we have Mary Jane and the Black Cat. This is the bright spot when it comes to it. Jed MacKay, solid writer when it comes to Black Cat. And this story has to do with Mary Jane and Black Cat teaming up together, trying to retrieve the soul sword for Belasco, who was the former ruler of Limbo. Artwork is absolutely gorgeous in here. The characters really look good. Yeah, look at that. It's so good, man. I have so much fun with this title, and just the interactions between the two characters are priceless. Black Cat is struggling to tell Mary Jane about her feelings towards Peter, and we get to see and learn a little bit more of Mary Jane's powers in this issue. When it comes to those powers, it's like a slot machine. So whenever she gets like a skull showing up in her like little hologram, it gives her a lesser power. Then if she gets 2 skulls, that's even worse. And then if you get 3 skulls, well, we don't know what happens yet. However, this is a great book. It's very intriguing. You want to know what happens with Mary Jane, and they hint on those 6 months as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to the next issue of this. Going back to the Ms. Marvel book, it was only 2 issues of that, and that's over. So thank God for that. All right. Next, we're getting rid of some of the not so great books first. There was a lot of great books this week. Trust me, great reads. It was hard for me to put together a top 5. The next one we have is X-Men. This is issue 18. We have Sync in here, reuniting with Children of the Vault Laura. So he wound up rescuing her, and if you remember, they resurrected Laura because they thought she was dead, not coming out of the Children of the Vault situation. So now, I'm clarifying with this. If you guys have not been reading X-Men, we have 2 versions of Laura Kinney. Well, actually, we have more than that. We have cloned versions, but actual X-23. We have the resurrected version, And then we have the original version who aged much more in the Children of the Vault. And she is now having a relationship with Synch. And this book takes place during the Exterminators, as we get to see a brief team up with the other girls that are from that title. It wasn't actually horrible, but the one thing that I don't agree with this comic is we don't need another X-23 in this book, or in this X-Men world. I mean, we have too many as it is, where you have Laura, and then you had Gabby, and now you obviously have Wolverine himself, and now you have just an older and a younger version. It's too much, dude. It's just weird. So we'll see what happens when it comes to the original and the resurrected form. I have a feeling that maybe the older version is going to get killed, because that's going to kill Synch, I think. All right. So let's move on to some better books, okay? So we have Gunslinger Spawn issue 16. Now this book, in any other probably comic book week, this could have fallen in my top 5. This was another really good book from Brett Booth and Todd McFarlane, as this is so fitting. Brett Booth draws a speedster character that was created by this crazy guy, and this guy wants revenge on him. And also, Gunslinger Spawn wants revenge on this other guy as well, for obviously having participating in killing his sister. So it's interesting to see these two actually team up. And again, like I said, Brett Booth drawing a speedster character. I wonder if he asked Todd McFarlane, dude, can we draw this guy? Like, I miss drawing Flash. The artwork is absolutely phenomenal when it comes to this book. Every single issue, this is some of Brett Booth's artwork, best artwork. We get to see Gunslinger doing battle against like these demons and these angels and all kinds of stuff like that, man. Really great issue. Action, balls to the walls through here. Definitely will always recommend Gunslinger Spawn, a must read. All right. So here's a book after issue 1, I was definitely like, wow, this actually surprised me. And issue 2 actually surprised me again. So this is Miles Morales Spider-Man. This is issue 2. Great homage cover, of course, Todd McFarlane. And this book was awesome because we wound up getting to see Miles struggling with who he is right now, right? I mean, he's been a hero for a while, but just things aren't going right for him, and he's just having a tough time balancing life in general. And while he goes out to try to clear his head, try to stop some normal, burglaries and low life crime, he comes across Misty Knight, and it looks like these two are going to be teaming up in this next mission. And the whole thing why they're teaming up is someone is, involving or stealing tech or hacking things, and she's trying to find out behind it. So it was kind of cool to see this team up. And the other thing that you find out is, I think her name is Tiana, it winds up getting attacked by this new villain that we don't know, which I think is behind all these electrical hacks, because she's got all these drones and all these things, and she hacked in Tiana's phone and stuff. And then we get to see a battle between, Scorpion and Misty Knight and Spider-Man once again, and Scorpion had all these cool upgrades. Great action, great artwork, solid book. Next book, which I still can't quite get a feel for it. I might have to reread it. I thought this book was good, but I didn't think it was like blown me away type of stuff. This was DC Universe Lazarus Planet Alpha. Now, I think one of my biggest concerns with this comic book is that this is not an event where Mark Waid is going to write it. And I think that kind of, for some reason, it lowers my expectations for this event, because you get all these other writers going to be writing these one-shots, they're anthology stories, and I think the quality writing is not going to be the same as it was in this comic book. But you get to see this story continues right off of Batman vs. Robin, as the Lazarus volcano actually erupts, and our heroes are trying to save Batman's life. So it's like a race against time type of situation, and we get to see them dealing with this weather phenomenon. It has this dark fantasy-like feel to it through the artwork, where I like the artwork at certain times. It's absolutely beautiful when it comes to some of these action scenes and some of these creatures. And then there's other times where the facial expressions for me just look a little bit off, maybe don't feel fit the character all that much. But I definitely enjoyed the comic book. I was interested. By the time we get to the end of it, we see Batman become something more. And I think this has to do with like the whole Lazarus weather phenomenon happening and changing our superheroes, because we get to see Power Girl in here with her power sets being changed as well. So overall, I recommend it, right? I mean, like I said, it didn't like change my life towards DC Comics or events and just in general, but I thought it was a well-written book, and I feel like Mark Waid is doing an excellent job in the, in DC, and if it wasn't for him, I don't know where they would be right now. So definitely recommend this book. We'll see what happens with those one-shots, man. And this is funny, I got like a spider hanging from my mic. Not the first time. I don't know if you guys can see him. Yeah, look at that. Spider Slayer got his spider. That's pretty weird, man. All right. Next book. I said this in my number ones, my worthy ones video, where I cover all the worthy one stuff. And this is Black Cloak issue 1. This is written by Kelly Thompson. And this book is big, man. I mean, it's a thick book. It gives you a lot. It throws a lot at you. My biggest thing about this book, though, was the artwork. I just felt like the artwork didn't fit the tone of the story. It felt too cartoonish for me. And after 8 pages in, I just couldn't get into it. There's some books where I can gravitate to the characters and the story that's going on, and this issue just didn't do it for me whatsoever. It was boring. I didn't care about the characters, and I just did not like this book. And like I said, if you liked Black Cloak issue 1, that's great. That's how I feel about Black Cloak. It's definitely not my favorite book that I read, and I won't be continuing it going forward. It didn't need to be, however long it was either. So whatever, it is what it is. I won't be reading it anymore. Next, we have 10,000 Black Feathers. This is done by Andrea Sorrentino and Jeff Lemire. This is a very horrific type of book where we get this young female who is actually looking for her friend, and it was an interesting read, I should say that. She had this world that she created. She got famous from this book deal, and her friend just magically disappeared in the world that they created. It's kind of weird how they got there, but our main character winds up finding her best friend, which is Jacqueline. And it's a very dark book, and this ends the actual story. I don't know how many of you guys out there read 10,000 Black Feathers, but I found it intriguing. It's just kind of funny how it just abruptly ends. But it was a good read overall. Next, we have Nemesis Reloaded. This is issue 1. I was talking about this book all week long, and this book delivers, and it was close to making my top 5, but my top 5 books were so good, I felt like. And this book was awesome too, but I just feel like this deals with a topic that a lot of people will not agree with, or maybe get behind and may not support this comic, and that has to do with like police brutality, where Nemesis is like an evil Batman. He wants to take over Los Angeles, get rid of all the corrupt politician as well, and he has robbed this crazy museum that has billions and billions of dollars of jewels and paintings and all kinds of stuff like that. And he is putting a bounty on all the police officers, people of California, to take out these cops, and he's going to pay them $10,000 for each kill that they do. That's pretty dark stuff, man, let me tell you. And that's why I feel like, man, this is what this book is known for, though. It like pushes the envelope to the extreme, but I know like people will be turned off by this type of writing. So I'm curious to hear in the comments below what you guys actually think of Nemesis. Obviously, I don't support any of that stuff, but it's a comic book, so it's kind of like I just want to see what happens. That's all it is, and I did find it entertaining. And next book we're going to be talking about is Avengers: War Across Time. Excuse me. This book was actually surprising, and I was on the fence about buying this book. I was like, I don't know if I want to buy this. This has to do with old school adventure. But the way it was written like a book from the 60s or 70s, Silver Age book, right? And it was so awesome to see all these different characters act the way that they used to act, talk the way they used to talk, and the battle between the Hulk and all the other Avengers was absolutely priceless, excuse me. Hulk was battling like Thor and Captain America, and he talks like the old way, like Hulk smash, Hulk destroy Flag Man, Hulk fight puny ant guy. Like, it's so awesome. And the reason why Hulk was actually fighting all of our heroes was because Kang created this version of the Hulk because he wants to take over Earth. And it was just cool seeing all these characters back in this time frame. Really a lot of fun. The Iron Man armor had roller skates. Enough said right there. It's such a great book. Definitely recommend it. Just a lot of fun. All right, the next book we're talking about here is Spawn, Unwanted Violence, Issue 1. I didn't realize that this was only 2 issues. I didn't really love this book. I thought it was okay. The artwork was okay, but I'm reading so many Spawn books right now, I don't need to spend the extra money on it. This book was $5, and it was about a story of Spawn recruiting the character by the name of Freak, and I guess like he punishes people too, and when they do bad, and it was just a little bit disjointed for me. It was okay. I mean, it was just, I don't know. I just felt like it wasn't really needed. Why would we need this actual comic book when we have all these other Spawn comic books? And it was okay. Next, we're going to be talking about Daredevil Issue 7, written by Chip Zdarsky. The battle between Frank Castle and Daredevil is actually going to happen very soon, which is the next issue. Until then, we wind up seeing Elektra and Daredevil do their thing, trying to rehabilitate all of these criminals, give them second chances on life. And we see this one villain who, I guess you want to say, Daredevil releases him out into the wild. He feels like he's rehabilitated. He wants to be with his son, and then all of a sudden at the end of the issue, things go south. Giacchetto artwork always delivers. Seeing some of these villains act as good guys alongside with Daredevil was actually a lot of fun. We had some Stiltman action going on in the comic as well. This is always a solid read. Things are starting to build. Things are starting to get better. Remember, when it comes to Chip Zdarsky's run on Daredevil, the first volume was slow, and I feel like this second volume is a little bit slow too, but things are going to pick up, especially when they come across the Punisher. That's going to be an intense battle, let me tell you right there. All right, so here we go. Top 5 now, guys. Top 5. Number 5 goes to Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo. This is an awesome comic book. I just can't get over the artwork that happens in this book. It's so good. It's phenomenal. I love the way like Alfred looked, Nightwing looks, freaking Batman looks badass. There's such great facial expressions in this comic book, and seeing this mystery and Batman trying to solve it is outstanding. When it comes to what this Joker DNA stuff is, it's fun. It's so much fun to see him put together the pieces, and I feel like we have not seen this type of detective work from Batman in such a long time. And by the time we get to the end of this issue, Batman is like, all right, Joker, we're gonna team up with each other, but I swear to you, if you screw up, if you mess one thing up, you're done. It's over. And so that's kind of how the book ends. Such a great, an awesome issue. Always a recommend in my eyes. Definitely worthy of the top 5. You're going to be surprised at I think some of these top 5 books, but the storytelling was so well done in them. Number 4. goes to Something is Killing the Children. This is issue 28. Another phenomenal issue when it comes to this book, as we get to see Cutter, who is acting as a CIA agent trying to get after Erica Slaughter, okay? And the buildup until you get to these last couple of pages was awesome. You can feel it when you're reading the book, because the sheriff that's in the town sheriff, you know, captures Erica Slaughter, and she's like, you have to be here. And she's like, no, you can't. You don't understand. That woman is not who she says she is. And she's coming at any minute. And he's like, yeah, you're right. She's coming and she's going to arrest you. And when she comes through the door, man, there's a lot of shit that happens. And there's this game that she's going to play. And there's this whole setup that's happening. Holy cow, man. This book was so good. I loved Something is Killing the Children, issue 28. Continues the story in the right way. And God, man, it's not all about this horror right now. It's just more about Erica Slaughter trying to survive. All right, next, coming in at number 3. Really good book right here, guys. This is Dark Ride. We are in issue 4. I think that's what this one is. The conclusion to the first story arc. In this book, you have another murder. You find out that where this kid went to. This was the kid that originally went missing in the beginning of the series, okay? And then you witness another murder to a character that's been on again, off again in this comic book as well. And it's just an excellent read. And it seems like in this comic book, the prayers have been answered when it comes to the amusement park. The park was struggling. It could have been possibly closing. They didn't have people attending the park anymore. There's all these rumors surrounding everything around the park. And all of a sudden now, business is booming. It looks like they're okay. And it's because of one character why this is all happening. An excellent read. If you guys love amusement parks and you like horror, I can definitely recommend this book to you. Joshua Williamson is awesome on this book, man. Coming in at number 2, you will never have a guess on what is my number 2. That goes to The Flash, issue 790. Wow. You know, this was a great jumping on point for me. I have not read The Flash in a very long time, and I always like, man, everyone's talking about The Flash, but I feel like there's no good jumping on point for it. Well, if you jump on issue 790, 1 Minute War, right, part 1, this is the book for you, as this just kicks off an event where everything has stood still based off of these people or these aliens or whoever they are that are approaching the Earth. And the thing is you kind of get introduced to everything that is going on in all of the other Flash's life, right? And everybody is affected by this time stop except for anyone that has to do with the Speed Force. And we get introduced to Wally, and you get introduced to Barry, and you get introduced to all the kids, and they're having so much fun. And then all of a sudden this crazy spaceship makes its way into Earth, and it causes everyone to stand still. Like, that's what it looks like once it lands, right? It's kind of weird. And something very bad happens to Iris at the end of this issue, and you're just kind of like, oh my God, what is going to happen with this? Who are these bad guys? I don't know personally who they are. If you guys know who they are, let me know in the comments below. But holy crap, what a great book. It makes me almost sad that I missed out on all this time with Flash, but hey, I guess better late than never, right? So what was my number 1 book? Well, again, you're going to be surprised by this. This book has always been a solid book for me all of 2022, but this wraps up the first real story arc. It took 10 issues to get here, but this is Ghost Rider. This is issue 10, done by Benjamin Percy. This book is so well done, and the artwork is so horrific in it. It's just like a true horror book, but with a solid story behind it. And in this 10th issue, if you picked up issue number 10, It gives you everything that you needed to know to get you caught up to this particular issue. So this is a very new reader friendly issue. Now, however, if you've never read Ghost Rider before, I say read issues 1 through 9 because you get to see what has happened with Johnny Blaze all this time, right? There was a time where he lived in this little town and he was having these blackouts, waking up in other places, and he didn't know why. There's this creature inside his brain. I mean, there are so many things that happened in this book, in this series leading up to this event, but you wind up getting to see Johnny Blaze fighting Exhaust, who is like a shadow of himself, and that's the character right here. So well done. And at the end, there was this final battle against Ghost Rider and Blackheart as well. But things are just getting started when it comes to this comic book, because they're doing this crazy science experiment and analyzing the other Ghost Rider, and this is a spoiler, Danny Ketch, which is going to be coming in this series next. My gosh, guys, I have never really been a Ghost Rider fan, but the way this book is written and the tone of the book and the artwork of this book, it's awesome. And this was just all the way around, for me, the best comic book of the week. Story, art, everything. So there you guys have it. There are all the comics for this week. I tried to go as fast as I can, but there was just a lot of books that came out. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what was your favorite book of the week? And if you love my content, I'll leave you more content right here, guys. In fact, if you want to check out Worthy Ones, this is the series where I talk about all the new #1 comic books that came out for the week. Until then, guys, as always, keep buying, keep collecting, but most importantly, always read those comics. Guys, I'll see you real soon. Bye.